All right, so welcome. Thanks so much for joining us for this another virtual Explore Day. It's a bit of a gray, wet morning here in Vancouver. Um, Today, we are joined by two amazing partners. We have Tara Moreau, who's the Associate Director of Sustainability and Community Programs at UBC. She's waving there. And we have Regina from Plant to Seed and See What Grows Foundation. So welcome to both of them. Welcome to our members, welcome to our guests, and definitely welcome to the Plant to Seed community as well. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Christina. I'm the program director at Nature Kids. And I'd like to start off by acknowledging that I work and play on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations. And we thank them for having cared for these lands and waters since time immemorial. If you're new to Nature Kids, we are a discovery and environmental action organization that helps families and kids get out to play, explore, learn, and take action for nature. And normally we do this through in-person events all over the province. We have clubs in 25 different communities across BC. And throughout COVID, we've also been having these virtual events. And it's been really fun getting together and getting to see each other from all across the province. And we're really excited to have Plant a Seed and See What Grows with us today. So I'm going to turn things over to Regina for a quick minute just to say hello and introduce Plant a Seed.
Hi there, my name is Regina, and we're happy to collaborate with Nature Kids BC. This is our second time that we've worked together. The last time was in June, together with L'Inichois, a wild bird conservation center in Quebec. And the Plant a Seed and See What Grows Foundation is dedicated to creating opportunities for children to explore the outdoors and be inspired by the breathtaking wonders around them. We do this by sponsoring school gardens, providing educational materials in classrooms, through farm visits, and any other fun outdoor educational activity. To know more about our work, please visit our website, seewhatgrows.org, and sign up to become a friend of the foundation, or follow us in Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at See What Grows. So today we get to visit our friends at the UBC Botanical Garden.
Thanks so much, Regina. So our Explore Day is a bit of a mini Explore Day today. It's only going to be 30 minutes, a little bit of a different format. So shorter and sweeter. We're going to start by playing you a pre-recorded video. It's a video tour of the Botanical Gardens, and then we'll have a live Q&A with Tara. And Tara's going to also walk us through a few citizen science initiatives that you can do at home with your families, after this. And as always, feel free to ask questions in the chat. We'll get to them. And I already mentioned that I'm recording this session. You would have seen the pop-up. So if you're uncomfortable with that, just please turn your cameras off. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Tara, and she's going to say a few words, and then we'll get to the video. So Tara, take it away, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina and Regina, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Good morning, everybody. I'm here in Vancouver, where I'm thrilled to say that it's raining. I want to invite you from wherever you're tuning in to use the chat box and let us know where you're tuning in from. So Tara is here from Vancouver, and what we want you, I'm going to try to spell it right. You can let us know where you're tuning in from, and which is really incredible because we live in a beautiful province where there's beautiful nature all across the province. So I gather we have someone from Alabama. Amazing. Wow. I didn't expect that. Coquitlam. Oh, wow. Vancouver, Burnaby. Oh, so exciting. I did not expect to have Alabama. So I don't know what kind of plants you're going to have in Alabama. I've never been to Alabama. But we're going to give you a bit of a virtual tour that myself and my students worked on to show you the Botanical Garden. Can I get a show if you can use your reaction buttons if you've ever been to the Botanical Garden before at the University of British Columbia? We can get a sense if this is I see one, Rebecca, she's been excellent. I see a few people have been to the Botanical Garden. So, it's great. You can tell us if we showcased it well in our video, but I'm going to pass it back to Christina. We'll give you a short video virtual tour, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the work that we do to conserve plants and raise awareness of plants. Plants are my absolutely favorite type of biodiversity. If you want to put in the chat what your favorite type of biodiversity is, please do. And also, if you have any questions that come up along the way, please put them in the chat and we're going to try to answer them in the time that we have together. So over to you, Christina.
Thanks, Tara. I will load up the video here. Hi everyone, and welcome to UBC Botanical Garden. We are thrilled to have you here today. My name is Tara Moreau and I'm the Associate Director for Sustainability and Community Programs. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the unceded Coast Salish territory of the Musqueam, Hunkaminam speaking people. And we are incredibly grateful to be on these lands and working from this land here at the University of British Columbia. Today we're going to give you a virtual tour of our garden, and I'm thrilled to be able to introduce you to the land that we work on and some of the students that are on my team. Alex Wong, who's a fourth-year biology student, will be talking about native trees in our tree walk, and Delaney Austin, who's also a fourth-year student in the Faculty of Arts and a joint major in Indigenous Studies, is going to be talking about her work in the food garden. Before we get started, I want to ask, what is a botanical garden? So a botanical garden is a living collection of documented plants. In our beautiful garden, we have plants from all over the world, and we're growing them here for the purposes of conservation, education, research, public display, and engagement. So come along with us. We're thrilled to show you the garden today. So here we are at the start of our Asian garden, and before we get started, I wanted to introduce you to our plant labels. As a living collection, most of the plants in our collection have a label that you can go and explore on our website. Each label tells us a little bit about the plant. It tells us its scientific name, its common name, if it has one, the country where it is from, as well as our accession number and the plant family. Plant labels are a great way to get to know plants, name them, and learn more about what plants they're related to. This label that we're looking at is for an Acer pentaphyllum. It's one of the plants in the maple family. This one in the collection that you can see just behind the sign is incredibly rare and almost extinct in the wild, which highlights the role of botanical gardens in backing up our plants for future generations.
Hi, my name is Alex Wong. I'm a fourth-year biology student here at UBC. Right now I'm working at the Botanical Gardens this summer and possibly in the fall. Right here we have a collection of pine cones from all over the world. If you look at this big pine cone right here, this pine cone is from a ghost pine. The ghost pine is usually found in Southern California and also a bit of in Northern California. Contrary to the belief of this big pine cone, this cone will only produce a tree of 20 feet tall. But if you look at this small cone right there, that cone actually produces the tallest tree in the world, the sequoia tree. And also, a lot of these cones are not just pine cones. We also have some fir cones, some spruce cones, and some cedar cones. So now we're gonna head to the tree walk. Let's go. Hey, Douglas fir. Welcome. So behind me, we have the Green Heart Tree Walk. It's made up of 7 suspension bridges and about 310 meters long and 23 meters high at its tallest point. So this tree walk was made by a man called Mr. Greenheart, who wanted to provide access to the canopy layer of the rainforest around the world. And fortunately enough, he was able to build one here. So researchers like me and other scientists at UBC are able to study animals and the interactions, the ecosystem in the canopy layer of our rainforest. So the bridges you see here are held up by trees from the Pacific Northwest, mainly the western red cedar and the Douglas fir. So to my right here, you can see a big Douglas fir. These are about over 100 years old, and these all support the bridges that I'm standing on. So here's a rhododendron. It's one of my favorites and a really important plant in our collection at the Botanical Gardens. If you come and feel it, the top side is very waxy, but underneath it, on the underside, is really felt. It's really soft and almost feels like felt. So right now we're headed towards the food garden to meet Delaney. Right behind me is the Moon Gate Tunnel that goes underneath the road. This actually connects all the gardens in UBC Botanical Gardens, like the food garden and the Asian gardens.
Hi, welcome to the food garden. My name is Delaney and I'm a UBC student working at the UBC Botanical Garden while also studying environmental sciences, human health, and First Nations Indigenous studies. Did you know 2021 is the UN Year of Fruits and Vegetables? Our food garden is a display garden, so guests can come and experience the wonderful biodiversity of food plant species while also experiencing how these species grow in our local area. Our food garden is home to between 250 to 300 different species of food plants, ranging from beets to berries to broad beans and more. Last year, we harvested over 925 pounds of fresh produce from this garden. That's approximately the same size as an average adult grizzly bear. Crazy. If you're interested in our food garden, you may be interested in growing your food of your own. A great place to start is with beans. Or you can start by just exploring the biodiversity of food plants in your kitchen. Well, that's all for me. I've got to get back to harvesting. Over to you, Tara.
There are so many bald eagles and so much to see here in the garden. I hope you guys have been enjoying our tour. To finish it off, I wanted to show you our alpine garden, which represents plants from mountain regions all over the world. Did you know that mountains are the areas where climate change is happening the fastest? On my right is our BC Rainforest Garden, where you can learn about native plants from across British Columbia. And on my left down there is our Physic Garden, where you can learn about medicinal plants and see some of the coolest bees, bumblebees, honeybees, and many other pollinating insects. We hope you can come and join us here at the UBC Botanical Garden or visit our Nitobe Memorial Garden. Can't wait to see you here in the garden.
All right, so that's the video portion, and I'm going to turn things over to Tara now. She can take your questions, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about citizen science. So I will just pin here or spotlight her, so she's front and center.
Perfect, and welcome to some of the people who have just arrived. We're so happy to have you here. Let me just get my slides. I wanted to show you a little bit more from our garden. I'm going to just get it started here. And please continue to ask some questions in the chat. I can't actually see the chat, but we had a great question about why some trees produce large cones, and I think that's a wonderful question. I don't exactly know, but I'm going to hypothesize that the big cones have adapted as a relationship with the pollinators that might support the seed distribution. So perhaps the animal, and for some of those trees, they're pollinated by wind and others by animals. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Can everybody see the slides that I have up? Maybe give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about one of my favorite topics, which are food plants. Another of my favorite topics, which are plants, and pollinators. So as a scientist, I've spent most of my academic career studying what we call insect-plant interactions. And so I spent much of my work trying to understand agricultural pests and how do insects behave when they're in agricultural settings. So we're going to talk a little bit about also pollinators. I'm going to, before I get started, I just wanted to share, we're going to use this eagle and sort of explore our garden a little bit more. The University of British Columbia in Vancouver is located on Musqueam territory. Musqueam have been living on these lands for thousands of years, and their traditional language is Hunkaminam. And so this is really important to the work that we're doing in terms of integrating Indigenous knowledge into our educational programs, as well as working closely with the Musqueam First Nation to connect how can plant conservation connect to the conservation of Indigenous languages. And Hunkaminam is the Indigenous language of Musqueam. So if we take a bird's eye view, I wanted to show you an aerial photo of our garden. And just a little bit about when we grow a garden. Maybe I can get people to use your emotions in the Zoom if you have ever grown a garden, or you have a garden at home, or you like to grow plants. If you like to grow plants, perhaps you can, oh, I see a thumbs up. I see some people like to grow plants. Oh, look at, I see hearts. I love plants. I love anybody who loves plants as well. And oh, look at all the people who are growing plants. I'm so impressed. A really important thing about growing plants is where we are located. And so I wanted to point out here, this is the Fraser River, and this is a huge influence where it meets the ocean on how and what we can grow at the Botanical Garden. And so I know we have people tuning in today from all over. And so depending on your environment, you're going to be able to grow different plants. Our garden is made up of a garden of many different gardens, and we organize it based on geography, like an alpine garden, and other based on how we might use our plants, a food garden. So what I wanted to showcase here from our aerial views, if you came to the garden, and for those of you who have come to visit us before, hopefully you've gone under the tunnel, which is, I would say, people's favorite places to explore and to make music and sing in. And you can explore our alpine garden, which is made up of plants from mountain regions all over the world. You can access our BC Rainforest Garden, which has native plants from across British Columbia. We have a physic garden, which is a medicinal garden and showcases plants that have been used as medicine from the 16th century. So this is many years ago, when before we really knew a lot about medicine, people used plants. And so this is a traditional 16th century physic garden. So medicinal plants from many years ago. This is the food garden, and probably my favorite place, because we have a beautiful outdoor classroom, and that's a wonderful place to learn, is when we're outdoors. And tucked in behind here is our canopy tree walk, which is really cool. And as Alex said in the video, it gets us up into the rainforest canopy. And even still to this day, scientists around the world are accessing the rainforests, the canopy of our rainforests, and they are discovering new species of frogs and snakes and plants in the canopy of our rainforest, which is so cool. And then we also have our Asian garden, and that means that it's made up of plants that have been collected from across Asia. So we have plants from China and Vietnam and all over Asia, and we bring them in and we grow them, and we can grow them here because it's the mountain areas of China that these plants grow, and that same environment, or a similar environment to what we have in Vancouver. I wanted to let you know that there's an online resource. If you really like plants and you want to come and learn more, you can come visit our online collections. It's called Garden Explorer. And this is where you can see many and learn more about the plants that we have. We have over 5,000 kinds of plants growing in our garden. And this is from 200 different plant families. And essentially, we have 34% of the world's plant families growing in our collection. So there's lots to see, lots of different families of plants to come and explore. My favorite topic that I like to talk about is gardens and their connections to biodiversity. Everything I do is around trying to understand and explore biodiversity. And when we talk about biodiversity, we can think about it as ecosystems, as the species that make up and live in those ecosystems, and the genes, which are the microscopic DNA that make up all living things on Earth. And so as humans, we fall into this category here as one of the species, along with all the other species that live on Earth. So I think about pollination, and I get so excited because every time I go to a flower shop and you see the diversity of flowers, you can say, wow, all of those flowers have a long and beautiful relationship with pollinators. And pollinators can be butterflies and birds and beetles and humans. Pollination can also happen by wind. So some plants, they blow and they move the pollen around. I wanted to showcase this flower because one of the best things that I like to do if we were doing an in-person workshop is to get a flower and to dissect it. You can dissect it and cut it in half. And what I like to use, I don't know if anyone has these, my favorite tool is what I call a hand lens. Has anyone seen this before? Does anyone use this? It's like a mini magnifying glass. And so if you have something that you want to look at, I'm trying to get something here. Oh, look, I have my daughter's miniature garden that she collected. So if I wanted to look at my species or at a flower in a really cool way, I could use my little hand lens to get a microscopic view. So one of the things I would suggest, if you have flowers growing in your garden, or you can have a flower from old flowers from a floral shop, I bring them home and I dissect them, and I want to find all the parts of the plant. And these are the parts of the plant. I want to look for the petals. Many of us know and like to collect the petals, and if we went to a wedding or a party, we could throw the petals around. You have a pistil and a stamen, and down in the middle, when you dissect a plant, you can see the ovary, which will become the seed. Super cool. And I also wanted to show, I'm not sure if it's going to work. I had a little video, and actually the video is not going to work. It was this video of this bumblebee just covered in pollen, and he's flying from flower to flower, carrying with him the pollen. And that is what pollination is. And it's bumblebees and butterflies and other species that help move pollen between plants. And that is what makes up pollination. One of my most favorite relationships in nature. I wanted to show our food garden. So this is a picture from 2 summers ago. We have students, we have staff, we have volunteers. What happens is we grow between 250 and 300 different types of food plants. And then our volunteers, we harvest the food plants, we clean and prep the food plants, and we donate that food. So it's a true community effort. What we're also trying to do is look at what's the nutritional value of all the food that we grow. So when we're eating plants, one of the best ways I think that we can even explore plant diversity is right in our own house. And I know we've spent a lot more time in this pandemic at home, and I've been really excited about something that I was calling fridge botany. So you can go into your fridge, you can go into your cupboard, and you can say, what plant species are here? And so my challenge to you is after this session today, how many species can you count in your fridge? Do you have peppers? Do you have tomatoes? Is there a jam with raspberries? And oh, I see we have a question. Do you want to ask your question?
We have food.
Oh yeah, what kinds of food?
Like tomatoes and broccoli.
Oh, amazing. What's your favorite kind of vegetable?
I think peaches.
Oh, I love peaches as a stone fruit. So cool. Thank you for sharing. That's really nice. One of the other things that I think you can look at is to think of in your fridge or in your cupboard, what parts of the plant are you eating? So when we eat carrots, when we eat potatoes, we can think we're eating the roots of the plant. When we are having a salad and we're making lettuce and we're adding some chopped cabbage, we're eating the leaves of a plant. I love edible flowers. They can be delicious and they make any meal look beautiful. And of course, we have many different types of fruits. And the terms between fruits and vegetables are actually kind of complicated. So we often talk about tomato is a vegetable, when from a botanical point of view, it's actually a fruit. I wouldn't worry too much about it, about the debates about if something's a fruit or a vegetable. All in all, it's a good idea to eat a diversity of fruits and vegetables And as Delaney said in our video, this year, 2021, is the UN Year of Fruits and Vegetables. So that means the United Nations and around the world, we're all celebrating the benefits of healthy diets with fruits and veg. And, oh, I went backwards. Sorry, guys. So, I'm curious, has anyone here been involved with citizen science projects? Can you use your little icons again if you have been? Have you ever used, oh, I see some people have. I wanted to share with you one of my favorite tools. I downloaded on my phone, or you can have it on an iPad. And I always struggle with how much to use technology when I'm out in nature. But one of the things that I like is when I'm out in nature and I see something beautiful and I want to know what it is, sometimes I need help to identify it. So Seek is a tool, and it's one that I use on my phone. And this is a picture I took yesterday. I was looking, even you could use it at a flower shop. I tried to see, could I just use this tool to look and ID the flowers in the flower shop? And you basically take a picture, and then the Seek will tell you approximately what species it is. Now, plants are very complicated, as well as, you know, identifying species of bumblebees are very complicated, so it's not always right. So just keep that in mind. But it's a great tool to get you started to name plants. And I love to look and go for a walk around my block with my kids, and I test them and we test each other. When we try to figure out who can count and ID the most number of plants. So this is a tool called Seek. It's free to download for parents and for kids. If you want to explore it, maybe you just ask your parents' permission ahead of time, okay? And the other thing, and I know you guys are like all experts at growing plants. It seems that you have a lot of knowledge of growing plants. I wanted to share a resource that I run with our regional government, which is Metro Vancouver. So it includes a whole bunch of cities in this area. And it basically has a whole bunch of information on local plants that you can learn more about, and also garden designs. So if you say, I want to grow myself a food garden and I have a container, how should I lay out my plants? You can go check out this resource to learn a little bit more about how to do that. It's called the Grow Green Guide. And we also do Facebook live streams, one a month. We just did one this last week on how to do water-wise gardening, which is something that we've all been very aware of in the last few months, which is why we're also happy that it's raining. And the last thing I wanted to leave you with as a potential fun way to engage with nature is just discover. I've enjoyed in the pandemic just even discovering nature in my neighborhood so much more significantly. And we would love to have you come to the Botanical Garden and explore our tree walk canopy. And with that, I wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. And if you have other questions, it would be my pleasure to try to answer them.
Thanks so much, Tara. That was amazing. That's such beautiful branding and photographs. It's a beautiful presentation. We're at time, so if you have to sneak off the call, please feel free to do so. And if you want to stay and chat with us and ask more questions and talk about plants, we'll stay here and take your questions for the next little bit. So.
Oh, Tara, there was a question earlier on. What is the advantage, if any, of having the relatively large cone?
Yeah, and that one, you know, I think that relatively large cone, I think it generally how plants have evolved their flowers and therefore their seeds. It has been in this intimate relationship with the animals that help pollinate them. So my hypothesis, and I don't totally know the answer to your question, would be that it was due to the species of animals that were accessing the seeds inside the tree cone. And so I would say it was a result of evolution and this intimate relationship between the tree and animals that were helping to distribute the seeds of that tree.
Okay. And then another one, what does canopy layer mean? I think Alex mentioned that in his tour.
Oh, I love to talk about the canopy of rainforests, and I always give the analogy that they're like lasagna. Do you guys know lasagna? And at the top you have cheese. Oh, yeah, and then you have sauce and you have pasta, and then maybe sometimes you have a veggie layer and more pasta. And the rainforest canopy is kind of like a lasagna. There's multiple layers. You can have the soil, and then you can have shrubs. And as the trees get higher up, you have different layers. And for here in BC, in a temperate rainforest, our canopy layers look a little bit different than it might look in, say, Panama. I think we had someone, if I recall, way up here, someone was tuning in from Panama. Looks like Liz was tuning in from Panama. And you know what? In Panama is where I spent and I first discovered and got to do research in the rainforest canopies. And we did research in Panama looking at snakes that only live at a certain level in the rainforest canopy. And the canopy can be different around temperature. Different species show up at the different layers. So next time you're eating lasagna, you can think, I wonder how our forest canopies and which layers of our forest canopies would be represented in my lasagna. Oh, and there was a question about, do you have any favorite books to help kids identify or learn about local trees, plants, and bugs? Totally. I brought my favorite book that I carry with me, and this is regionally based. So actually, if you were in the interior, you would have a different book. But I bring this one with me, and I have all my notes and things that I keep in it, and it helps me identify and learn more about plants when I'm out in on a hike. And along with these, I like books. I have a slight book addiction, and I always, when I'm hiking, I have a very heavy bag because I want to bring my butterfly book, I want to bring my tree book, I want to bring my bird book. So depending on, again, what your favorite species of biodiversity is, then you would have a book that you could bring to help you identify things along the way. And then Jeffrey asked, when you studied snakes in Panama, did you physically go up into the trees? So I will say, no, I did not physically go up into the trees. We had these crazy, and they were actually from Alabama, these young men who were the tree climbers, and they would climb up into the trees, and they were collecting these snakes, and they're actually a great thing to go look at. If you Google eyelash vipers, they're snakes that have what look like eyelashes, and they come in pinks and yellows, and they're the coolest snakes. So these other researchers would go up, bring the snakes down, and I just sort of watched them do it. We do sell nature books in the gift shop, and you are also welcome to come visit the tree walk. If you go to the UBC Botanical Gardens website under visit, you can learn about our pricing structures and when we're open. We're not open every day of the week in the pandemic, so just make sure you check the hours.
Amazing. We have a couple more questions. Yeah, the recording will be posted probably on Monday. And give us a chance to put it up on our YouTube channel. So thanks so much, Sarah. That was amazing. And thanks to everybody for joining us for our virtual tour this morning and for all your amazing questions. I want to thank Tara and her team, Alexander Wong, who you saw, and Delaney Austin, who is also in the video. Shalini and Nana Yakara, who is also on the UBC Botanical Garden team. And I also want to have a shout out to the wonderful father and daughter team, Sean and Zoe Zadar from the Pacific Producers Group, who made that really cool video for us. And of course, to Plant a Seed. So thanks so much for a lovely half hour together. And enjoy the rest of your potentially a little wet afternoons, but I think it's really actually lovely to see the rain. So have a good rest of your weekends.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.